Stretching from the Pacific Northwest to the East Coast and landing in the Midwest, Joshua, Tracy, and Kelly present to you Rooted Perspectives, an audio and video podcast.
Join us while we share our perspectives on a wide variety of topics that are both culturally and socially relevant, ranging from current events, travel, technology, lifestyle, pop culture, finance, careers, and so much more.
3 diverse perspectives, rooted across the country.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rooted Perspectives. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tracy.
Joshua.
And Kelly.
And today we have a very special guest, a really good friend of mine, Joe, or Jobin. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself and give us a little background about yourself?
Well, what's up, guys? I'm Joe. I usually go by Walters or a Walt Deasy. I'm from Kentucky. You can hear my little southern accent. But I've known Tracy and Josh here. We was all in the Army together up in Alaska. So I've known these guys for a little while. I've more so stayed in contact with Tracy. I haven't really talked to Josh that much lately. But I've got back in contact with him, so that's been nice. I don't know, other than that, that's really all that's new.
So how long have you lived there in Kentucky, your whole life?
Yeah, pretty much my whole life. I live in Corbin, Kentucky right now, which is pretty much where KFC started, in a little town, Corbin, Kentucky. I pretty much lived here until I was in high school, early freshman, late sophomore, somewhere in there. And I moved to Louisville, and I pretty much stayed there until the military, and then played around in the military there for like 3 or 4 years with you guys. And then when we got out in about 2013, I moved back to Louisville, and I stayed in Louisville for, 3 or 4 years up until about 2017, 2018. And I moved back down here to Corbin. And that was more so to, I guess, reconnect with some old family. Louisville's more of a metro area, metropolitan. It's more city-like. I mean, it's nothing like California or, New York, nothing crazy like that. But compared to just like the daily living of something like Corbin, I don't know, I just like the slower pace, the slower environment here. 4 o'clock when you get off work driving home, like here, it'll take you 10 minutes to get home. In Louisville, the same drive would take you something like 30 minutes or an hour. So just that difference alone is kind of why I wanted to relocate down here.
So what year did you join the military?
I raised my hand sometime in November of 2009, but I shipped off to basic June 23rd of 2010.
You know what's crazy? That was 13 years ago.
That is crazy. That was 13 years ago.
Yeah. As a Kentucky boy, I have to ask, have you been to the Kentucky Derby?
I have been to the Kentucky Derby a couple of times. When I got out of the military, I was up to some shenanigans there for a while, and we would go to the Kentucky Derby and bet money. I've lost several thousands of dollars at the Kentucky Derby and the Old Downs. So I haven't been in the last 4 or 5 years though. What's really funny about the Kentucky Derby though is it's held in Louisville, in the east end of Louisville of all places, which is if you're from the 502 area, listen to this, you already know what I'm talking about. What's funny is they host the Kentucky Derby, all these rich white people coming into the east end of Louisville, which is the poorest end of Louisville. It's right smack dab in the middle of the hood, the worst end of Louisville you could be in. So it's just funny, like when the Derby comes around, it's all these rich white people in the middle of the hood. It's kind of funny how they have the city set up like that.
That's cool. That's like always been on my bucket list, so.
Is it
worth the hype?
Yeah, is it as cool as it's such a known thing in the US, is it really cool, I guess to say?
I think 100% just for the experience, I guess. If you do the Kentucky Derby, it's definitely one of those things you want to dress up you see people wear the crazy suits and the crazy hats. You do go, definitely wear crazy stuff or you'll be out. But there's another event that's not in Louisville. It's not the Kentucky Derby. It's something in Lexington, Kentucky. It's called the I'm drawing a blank on it, but it's like 2 months before the Kentucky Derby. But it's a lot more enjoyable than the actual Kentucky Derby. I'll look that up. I'll figure out what that's actually called.
I had no idea what the Kentucky Derby was until we
What?
had this conversation.
Really?
I feel so
Do you still know
ashamed.
what it is, or do you
You
know
should
what it
feel
is now?
every shame there is possible. How
No,
do you?
I assume it's just like a bunch of horse racing.
It is. That is correct.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that was something from like the fucking 60s or something.
No, it's
Not like current day. I feel so ignorant for not knowing what you guys are talking about.
I mean, we don't really know what it is. We just know it's horse racing.
So the Lexington event, the horse racing event in Lexington is called the Keeneland Race, and the one in Louisville is called the Oaks Race. The Keeneland Race to me is a lot more enjoyable just because where they host that at in Lexington's, I don't know. I'm a Louis villain, as you would say, and even I like the experience down in Lexington. Like the Kentucky people, Lexington, Louisville, big rivals. That's like red versus blue down here. But even as a Louis villain, I enjoy Lexington more at the Derby just because, like, the environment, it's nicer. It's a lot more nicer to look at. And, I don't know, there's just not as much, like, panhandling and just, like, general shenanigans going on, like, around the area.
So I think it was you I was talking to. Isn't the the Kentucky Derby only like once a year?
Yeah.
When is it?
It's only one race, literally one race, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's in July.
dude, we should go.
It's like the state fair.
No, it's May 6th. This year it's May 6th, 2023.
Dude, let's go get some thrift store suits and just be pimps at this place.
I mean, I would potentially be down.
Let's get like this massive wad of just ones and have 100 bill on the outside and place a bet on like Geppetto, the freaking three-legged horse or something. That'd be cool.
There was a few years back, somebody out there quote me if I'm wrong, but there was like some Louisville homeless guy at Kentucky Derby. This was years ago actually. This was like back like right after high school. There was like some homeless guy or like poor guy that went to the Kentucky Derby, and it was like the same thing. Like him and a buddy just went for like shits and gigs and like spent like the last $5 on like just some random horse. And I don't like remember the reason behind it, but like the odds against this horse was like stupid, like 100-1 or something. I'm not a derby racer, so I don't know like the exact terms. But anyway, their horse won, and that guy went from like being homeless, like not having a car, to like now he's like a multi-million-dollar investor in the 502 area. So
That's so cool.
there's a lot of money made there.
Gold.
like
We'll
those
just go
odds
drop
had-
100 grand.
Yeah, I was gonna say those odds had to have been a lot worse than 100-1 because Jesus.
Dude done well for himself.
All right, so I want you to talk about what your experience was like in the military. Not that I obviously know, but for everybody listening.
The best way I put the military to like, especially like somebody that hasn't experienced it, especially like combat deployment, is like it's the most fun that you never want to have again. Like if I could deploy with, let me take deployment out of it. So let's say, just the military, it's a lot of fun actually, like because essentially, especially in the infantry, I can't vouch for supply or any of those other MOSs, but for the most part, even the support MOSs, I mean, you're generally active duty, you're playing with guns, hanging out with your friends. I mean, maybe once or twice a month you'll go to training or go to the field or something like that. But, when we was in Alaska, boys, we was kicking it. I liked that a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, we wasn't just chilling, like we was learning stuff too. But I don't know, like when it came to deployment, I don't know, I'm a deployment soldier. I'm not a garrison soldier, I guess. Like I'm not all about like what DNC drill and ceremony. Like I was never all about that. But when it came to what's the max effective range of a SAW or a 240 or a Mark 19, like I was all about my weapons, all about the weapons. Deployment was a different experience. I don't know. Like I look at it now, being an adult, like. And it's just, it's so weird because you take this young kid, because you look at it and, back then we were all 19-year-old kids, dude. We were children. And you take that kid, and I don't know the exact numbers to this, but they say that you don't like fully become an adult until you're like 25 or 30 or something like that. Your brain doesn't fully develop until like a certain stage. It's like 25 or 30 or something like that. But you take this child basically, and you throw a traumatic experience like that, and I don't know, like I don't think a lot of people like take that into consideration. Like I know I definitely didn't. When I joined the military, it was like, I don't know, ever since I was a little child, that's all I ever wanted to do was be a soldier. And there wasn't really a reason behind it. Um, I guess my grandpa was a Vietnam veteran, and I respect him a lot, and I always kind of like, he was always kind of my hero. I don't know, I kind of always wanted to be the person that he was, so I don't know, I joined the military, but I always wanted to be in the military because of him. But when I got to high school, I considered different options. But one thing led to another, and it was just like, you know what? I want to join the world, or not join the world. I want to see the world, because I'm from Kentucky. I don't have a lot of experience with outside cultures.
Yeah.
And especially like once I moved from Corbin to Louisville, I experienced black people for the first time at 14 years old. Like that to me was like, that was crazy, dude. Seeing, Corbin, we had like one or two black kids in our whole school system. You know what I mean? Like it's just not a common thing. We went to Louisville, and all the white people are like the minority now. So it was just such a culture shock to me, but I liked it. Not me not being like the majority, if that makes sense. So like, especially when I moved to Louisville, the army, the military in general was a lot more appealing to me. Some stuff happened in high school, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm either gonna end up dead in jail or in prison. So like, I'm gonna join the military because I just didn't. My family, like, there's a lot of people in my family that submitted to drugs or poverty basically, and they just it's people that they gave up on their life, and I didn't want to be one of those people. So I decided I was in high school, so life can't be going too bad, but I just didn't want my life to go completely south. So I was like, I'll join the military. I'll see the world. I'll get some experience. And, join the military, the outcome of that, I can't be a bad person. So I joined the military, done the whole basic thing, done the whole deployment thing. But kind of going back to, being kids being deployed, like you take a bunch of kids, kids like that, essentially, and you expose them to a bunch of combat like we were exposed to. There's nothing but psychological repercussions from that, because like when I joined the military, like when I signed the dotted line, raised my right hand, I still had like 6 months before like I actually shipped off to basic. Dude, that entire 6 months, bro, like I straight up like binge watched Black Hawk Down, Full Metal Jacket, all those military. And I was like, dude, like I'm gonna be the baddest dude like ever. Like I'm gonna straight up shoot at people and be a badass. Jump out of helicopters, blow shit up, kill shit. And I don't know, like once you experience that, like don't get me wrong, some of that stuff's a lot of fun. But I don't know, some of it just kind of stays with you, and not necessarily in a bad way, but sometimes your experience can be more mentally exhausting than what it. That makes type of sense.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, I can relate. Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, I never even thought about what life was going to be like after Afghanistan because I didn't expect to make it out. But that just made deployment so much easier. Like after the first 3 or 4 firefights,
See,
like accepting. Go ahead.
No, same exact thing, dude. Like when we were deployed, I don't know, like I accepted the fact that we could, at any point, like that's my time card at any second. Like you remember when we got shot at when we were on the LZ, and that one dude was going home and he took cover behind his duffel bag.
Oh, dude, what was his name? I don't remember his. Yeah, that.
He took cover behind his duffel bag. None of us had weapons, and we're all, because we're all exposed and we're all running into the wire. We had been shot at. Not hundreds of times, but we had been shot at several times before that. But I remember that firefight specifically. Like that was the first time. That firefight, I got on the 50 cal after we got in the wire, and I got my kid on. I got on the 50 cal, but that was the first time I was in a firefight, and everything like not really slowed down, but you get like the tunnel vision, I guess. I don't know. Like I remember sitting there and I was freaking beaten down, and I just remember, like slow motion, hearing like the zoom, wow, like snapping, and just thinking to myself, like, dude, any minute is my time card. And I don't know, like, there was just something about living on that edge to me is like, that's a high that I know I will never experience again. Like, there is no crack strong enough to ever compare. There's no drug to ever compare to that adrenaline.
Yeah. It kind of sucked, like, and I don't want to say maybe sucked isn't the right word, but like, after you get used to it for so long that you're just kind of not going through the motions, but like, I remember one time I was on the computer and I heard a rocket come in and hit our base, and it was pretty close. And like, I didn't even flinch, I didn't scream, I just like, I don't know what I was doing on the computer, but I just closed it. And like, I think I was a team leader at the time, and some of my guys were in there with me. I think Doan was in there, and I was like, all right, let's go. Like, real calm, nonchalant. Like, it's crazy the stuff that you get used to, like, at such a young age, and you don't think about how that affects you
because it's so normal, like, especially where we were. Like, I remember I hung out with Nichols a bunch in the barracks room, and like what you were saying, after getting hit a bunch of times, like, I don't know, after they hit you a couple of times, it's almost like, it's inconvenient now. You know what I mean? Like, really, you guys really want to shoot at us for 5 seconds?
Dude, I remember one day, I think it was the day we took 16 rocket attacks, and I always had to take my soldiers' food before me. And I remember, like, I was having a nightmare that we were getting hit because we were, and I woke up to, like, the third rocket coming in. So I wake up, I get my kit on, and I actually have a picture of this, of us dropping mortars on them, and the firefight's over, and I take my stuff off, and I take my soldier's chow to Rock Guard, and I take my soldier's chow to ECP, and this was, like, straight out of a freaking movie, dude. It was wild. Like, I don't know what, like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, but, like, I don't know what triggered me to look up, but I looked up, and I saw the mortar come in, and I saw it fly right over the barracks and, like, hit, probably, I think, on the outside of the Hescos or something. And I remember how much of an inconvenience that was to me, because I was always the person on base to wake up every single morning and go get grape jelly biscuits.
Actually,
every single morning.
Now that you say that, I actually remember you, like, when you used, because when I was one of your soldiers, when we would be on guard, dude, you would hook it up on the chow. Like, everyone else would, like, half-ass, like, your sausage. Dude, you would bring us, like, 3 plates of shit.
Dude, I didn't mess around with chow. I don't know what it was, but I woke up every day in Afghanistan for chow and to Skype my parents almost every single day. I'm so glad we never got in a firefight while I was Skyping my parents, but yeah. I remember that day very well. But
so was that like a difficult transition for you when you got home?
It was very hard. Was that a question?
It was a question for you, but I was just gonna chime in because I strictly I vividly remember that experience when we got back. First off, I never expected to come back, so that was wild to me that I ever made it back. And I remember all these firefights, all this combat, and we come back, and I'm in I don't remember what it was called, but like I was back in Alaska in that huge building where we stage everything.
It was like
what's up?
Like the chalk.
Yeah, I was in the chalk, and like I was just standing there, and it boom just smacked me. I was like, I'm back. What the hell now? Like I was just standing around. Almost, I was like one of the last people in the chalk, and I was just looking around, and I was like, it was the weirdest. Like, I'm getting goosebumps again. Like, it was such a weird feeling just being back in the States alive after such a crazy year. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but what was it like for you?
It is the exact same for me. It was on the bus ride, like from, I don't remember where we came into the airport and then took a bus from like the airport back on the base to the chalk or whatever. It hit me when we were on that bus ride back to the chalk. I was sitting with Sergeant Iano, and I just remember I was like looking out the window and my phone went off because like right when I got back to the airport, I turned my phone on and had it activated. Well, like my phone rang and it was like like a text message, but it was like my mom or like my dad or somebody, and like I remember checking my phone and I read it and I looked out the window and I was just like, wow, like I'm reading my phone right now, like dude, like I'm really back, like I don't know, like that's so weird for me, but it like it never like I don't know, it didn't like affect me and really until I got older and like recognized like my big problem when I got like home from everything is I was always chasing that thrill, I guess. Like I always wanted that rush. And I never got it. And I don't know, like it took me like getting older and realizing like I was not necessarily like chasing that rush, but it took me getting older to like realize I had some issues from it.
Yeah, I can 100% relate. I know Josh is just like sitting here listening. Sorry, bro.
No, it's all good. I love to get to hear another person's story. So,
And
I just want to point.
Josh,
Go ahead, Josh or Joe.
I actually first met Josh here, I think in Afghanistan. So I'd ran into him a couple of times, like back in Garrison up at Wainwright, but I never really knew who it was. But I remember me and Nichols got attached somewhere at, I think it was Fob Apache. We had to take some like IED class, some awareness IED class. And Silas was at the class. And dude, Silas, like by far, like in the middle of like one of the crappiest places you could be, Silas was like by far one of the funniest people I'd ever run into in my life. By Silas, I mean Josh, for people that don't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Josh.
Funny or funny looking is my question.
He was really ugly back then.
Just kidding, Joshua.
Kelly, you're so mean.
I know.
What was your favorite part about being deployed? Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I was just gonna change the subject. So if you have another question for him, go ahead.
I was gonna ask him like I was gonna ask you two things. What was your favorite part about being deployed, and who was your favorite team leader?
My favorite part about being deployed. Honestly, dude, my favorite part about being deployed is just I don't know how to put it. Like, you know what I mean, and Josh probably knows what I mean. But it's like putting it's like putting an animal back into nature almost. Like, when you're deployed, you don't have to worry about anything. Like, you don't have to worry about bills. You ain't got to worry about your mom. You ain't got to worry about your dad. You ain't got to worry about your woman cheating on you. I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But at the time, all you're worried about, dude, like when I was deployed, wake up, work out, eat, don't go to bed, repeat. That's it. Like, I don't know, the simplicity of everything was so awesome. Like, and like, I don't know, like, it's just a whole other world. Like,
it's nice. You don't have to worry about nothing, dude.
It is. It's almost like primal, and I don't know, like, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Now we have to worry about our iPhones. Oh, how the times have changed.
Good times.
Who was your favorite team leader? I know it wasn't me, and I'm butthurt about that, but that's okay.
If I could pick a favorite team leader throughout my whole entire Army experience, I've actually done a whole lot of thinking on this the last couple of days. It would actually be Sergeant Andreas. And the reason I say that is because Sergeant Andreas was my first like real Army team leader. When I got to Alaska, like fresh out of basic, this was back when Daddy kind of still ran the Army. You could still get smoked for hours on end. None of this new stress card stuff. Sergeant Andreas, the point of being a new soldier is to get hazed. I'm sorry, but like that, you should get messed with. I don't know. There's just something about building, trust and honoring somebody. But Sergeant Andreas was my first team leader, and don't get me wrong, like he definitely messed with me, but he never messed with me just to mess with me. Like Tracy, for example, like if you knew Sergeant G, like love Sergeant G to death, great guy, I love him. But Sergeant G messed with a lot of soldiers just simply to mess with them. Sergeant Andreas didn't have that approach. He messed with you, but it was for a reason. It was to call you out on something. And Sergeant Andreas was just like one of those weird characters, like to people who don't know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about a guy that he's from Fiji Island, so he's an islander. This guy's his secondary language is English, so his English is very broken. You can understand very few words this guy says, but just straight warrior, like PT wise, army wise, like this guy, 5'2", 130 pounds soaking wet. This guy is a straight warrior. And I don't know, like before we deployed, so Sergeant Andreas was my team leader. Sergeant Vi was our squad leader. And, where we was in Alaska, the 125th Stryker Brigade. So we was a mechanized unit. Before we deployed, Sergeant Andreas and Sergeant Vi started giving us all these classes on helicopters, like sling load capacities for Chinook and Blackhawks and Little Birds and rotor capacity, like rotor speeds and all this different stuff. And as a new soldier, I'm trying to learn all this stuff before deployment, like my 9.9 medevac and all this stuff. And here they are throwing in all this like helicopter stuff. And I'm like, at the time I was mad, but after deployment, look at our deployment. What did we do for 6 months? Nothing but work with helicopters and pack up our base. So I don't know. It was just nice, like when it came to the time for that knowledge, because I don't know. It was like almost like low key, like Sergeant Andreas and I was kind of setting me up for success almost. So I don't know, like, and Sergeant Andreas like never, I guess never like passed judgment on me, like, and never passed judgment on like another soldier. Like to Sergeant Andreas, like you were equal. Like it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Like he was either a good soldier or you was a bad soldier. But he didn't treat you any different. If that kind of
he was pretty soft spoken too.
Very, very soft spoken.
Can you move your camera up just a little bit so we can see more of your face?
Yeah, sorry.
That's better. I know it's weird on your end, but yeah.
Moving on to the next
Yeah,
topic, I guess.
Go ahead, Josh.
Okay, so what is it that you do now that you are not in the military?
So now that I'm not in the military, I'm actually right now just currently going to school. I'm trying to get a bachelor's degree in computer science. I have a really big passion for technology. I mean, ever since I've been a little kid, I've been hardcore into computers and just different little gadgets and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed, I guess, like the learning process of understanding how something works, why it does that, and like why when I hit this button does all this stuff work. That stuff's always interested me very deeply. And I got in an accident. I was in the diesel field, so I was working for Caterpillar there for a while. But I got in an accident last year. I got in a dirt bike accident and broke my pelvis and pretty much the entire right side of my body. And since that accident, I don't know, it opened my eyes to my passion, really. Like I knew I've always loved computers, but I never really thought about doing it professionally. But after that, especially after that accident, I kind of realized I'm getting old, guys. Like, I'm 30 going on 45. Like I'm to the point where I don't want to work with my hands anymore. I want to work with my mind if I can. And I feel like, I'm in a position where, if I really pay attention and try, I can, potentially make something happen. So right now, mainly just focusing on school. I have my own little YouTube channel, Baylough Technologies. I'm eventually wanting to register it as its own little business. I want to focus like on e-waste recycling and computer repairs and different things like that. But mainly right now, just kind of focusing on the computer science and technology fields.
What is e-waste recycling?
So e-waste is essentially like anything that's technology that you throw in the trash. So like old cell phones, old cameras, old computers, printers, or anything like that.
So what are we supposed to do? Not put it in the trash?
Well, you're supposed to technically recycle it because it's horrible for the landfill.
So what is it that you want?
Will our normal recycle bin work or no?
Well, so a lot of states are behind as far as e-recycling goes. Like Kentucky's one of those states that's very far behind everyone else. So there's like specific drop points that you're supposed to take like old computers and printers and stuff to, like electronic waste recycling depot. Like the closest one to me is like an hour and a half. So do you really think I'm going to drive an hour and a half to drop off an old computer? No, I'm going to throw it in my trash.
Right.
But like a lot of people, they'll take it to Goodwill or, try to repurpose it on eBay or Facebook or just different things like that.
So what is it specifically that you want to do with e-waste?
My main thing is just I want to save as many computers from the trash as I possibly can, honestly, just because, not only is it bad for the environment, but I don't know, I find a lot of pleasure in taking something that's completely broken or something that's completely broken and making it work again. I take a lot of pride in that.
Okay, so you wanna your goal is that what your goal is with Baylough Technologies, is to take old computers and stuff and refurbish them and sell them to people?
It's gonna be one of the main things I focus on, not necessarily to resell them to people, but to mainly just repurpose them. So maybe find an old computer, part it out, and potentially resell the parts, or try to find something that I can use the parts for. Because, I mean, Tracy, I've got 11 different computers laying around here that I use every single one of them. So I've got 100 different projects going on, so I'm constantly needing computer parts. The main focus would be e-waste, mainly just kind of getting computers, like I said, out of the landfills, out of Goodwills and stuff like that. I will resell some of the stuff just to kind of get it off my hands, just kind of depending on what it is. But I will focus on computer repair and maintenance just a little bit, but I want to focus more on I guess the general computer builds and setup more so than server setup and server maintenance like that.
So would you say that's more like what you did with Tracy's system?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'd done with Tracy's computer, basically.
Well, you just straight up put mine together and built that shit. This monster. I love this thing, man.
Thing's a beast, dude.
It is a freaking animal.
It's an absolute unit.
How far into your schooling are you?
So I have about 8 or 9 months left. So I've only been in school now for 7 or 8 months. But when I first got out of the military, here's another crazy story. When I got out of the military, I went to ITT Tech. If you guys know what that is, it was an unaccredited college and it shut down. Well, the great thing about the GI Bill is if you fail a class, you get to pay back whatever the GI Bill paid in for that class. Well, when ITT Tech shut down, I was taking 3 classes. Each of those classes was worth about $3 or $4 grand each. So I owed back on the GI Bill $12,000 or $14,000. And that's something, of course, since I've got a waiver from. But just since before ITT Tech shut down, I'd went there for 6 or 7 months, I believe. But some of them credits from ITT Tech essentially followed me to what I have now. But yeah, 7, 8 months, I'm hoping I can finish everything up and hopefully see about getting some certifications and things like that.
So when it comes to being able to totally build a computer from scratch, is that something you learned in school, or is that something you kind of more self-taught?
I'm completely self-taught. I did take some computer classes in high school when I was a sophomore, junior, senior, but I took computer classes kind of all throughout school, but most of them was more so getting familiar with the computer, typing class in middle school. But once I got to high school is when I actually took a networking class, which is setting up home, your home lab, your home network. I'm sorry. But it was a networking class that just kind of familiarize the the word I'm looking for with LAN and Wi-Fi and everything like that. Network. I took that and then another computer class that just kind of familiarized you with computer components and different things like that. Shout out Miss Riccio if you're watching this. Huge shout out. But really most of my computer experience comes from video games because when I was a kid, they pretty much gave me a computer and was have fun with it. And I don't know, I got into playing games like RuneScape and World of Warcraft, and I was one of those kids that I didn't have my mom's credit card to get on my computer and buy the stuff that I wanted to buy for my video games. So what I did is I learned how to make my own bots, and several hundreds of accounts banned later, I kind of know a few ins and outs in the computer world. And then I remember when I got started in World of Warcraft, when I started making bots and stuff for RuneScape, it was basically just doing Python and some Java stuff. And I don't know, like, I think I was like 12 or 13 years old then. And, this is stuff like even now I don't fully, I recognize it, but I still, even to this day, I don't fully understand it. But, when I was about 14, I say about 13 or 14 is when I got into the real huge game at the time, World of Warcraft. And at the time, this is when it was the Burning Crusade expansion. And with this game, all the old school WoW players out there, if you remember, you used to have to take all of your add-ons and put them in your WTF folder. And there was just a lot of computer knowledge you had to know to play this game back in the day. And just, from stuff like that, make my own like little bot programs to password generators to password crackers, because I had buddies that played RuneScape and buddies that played some other games that, we all played, and I wanted to hack their accounts because I wanted their gold. So I made some not so good stuff, and just kind of self-taught trial and error.
I will say shout out to Blizzard. Is it Blizzard that makes WoW?
Yeah.
Shout out to Blizzard for ruining WoW and making it to where I could have a life again so that I never wanted to play. Appreciate it.
Shout out. Honestly, shout out Blizzard for letting me have my life back.
Oh my God.
Appreciate you guys ruining the game for us. And yeah.
I have no clue if this has anything to do with what you do, but have you ever like built an app? Is that a thing?
It is. So I'm working on a few different things right now. My main one that I'm working on, I don't want to really talk about it just over YouTube. But I've got some ideas in the works right now. My main idea behind, because that's actually what I want to get into. So I've got a few backup plans. So if Baylough Technologies, as far as like the e-waste, computer recycling, repair and maintenance, if that doesn't work out, then I kind of want to be an app or web developer. Because my thought process behind it is I'm one of those people, I spend a lot of time on my phones, specifically playing games and just kind of like watching TikToks, I guess, little shorts and stuff. And I think there's a lot of money to be made behind microtransactions. So,
oh man, yeah,
make money while you sleep, and that's kind of my thought process behind app development.
Interesting.
Well, if you need any help with it, I won't be there because I have no idea how to do anything. But I'll be rooting for you.
Josh had an idea for an app a couple of years ago, didn't you?
Yeah. I always have business ideas. And
Well,
some
I mean,
take
here we are.
longer. Some take longer than what I think to get going, but most of them do happen and they come to fruition. So it's okay.
Well, look at this podcast. You got us all dialed in here.
I did. I'm planning on running for Congress next cycle, so hey, this was part of my plan, getting this podcast going.
We just need to get 1 million followers by the end of the year.
Josh,
I'll make it happen.
do you play guitar, Josh?
No.
Oh, they just look on your wall then?
They look
My
great.
husband does. Just like he plays the piano.
Well, at least
And I don't.
not just wall ornaments then. I didn't know that you'd play guitar, that's why I asked. So
The little red electric guitar is mine, yes. I have been trying to learn it and play it, but learning Portuguese has taken my time more. So
Portuguese.
yes,
That sounds complicated, brother.
it is.
So what other directions other than e-waste do you think that you could take Baylough Technologies?
Mainly, I have a few fires burning right now, but mainly it's just sticking to the e-waste, computer repair, and maintenance. I do, like I said, I have that backup, kind of like the backup idea burning that, if everything else fails, I'll still get into web or software development. So I just kind of keep poking at all these fires and kind of see what happens at the end of all of it. But really, I guess my main goal at the end of all of this is, with as far as like my social media presence and as far as like being a content creator, is I mainly just want to establish I want to establish the internet's largest nerd community. Like I want every nerd from every single corner of the internet to all be in one place. So if someone has a computer issue, then they can just type it in the chat and here's 100 nerds responding, and not people trolling, like people who genuinely want to help you.
So I know you have a Discord. Is that where, like, a direction where you want the Discord to go to for, like, so, like, if somebody had a computer issue, like, if they wanted something built or fixed, could they get a hold of you for that?
Yeah, so right now the best way to reach out to us is going to be through that Discord that we have set up, or through the Instagram. But here in the next month or two, we're actually going to go live with the BayloughTechnologies.com website. Right now, it's just kind of fine tuning some store side stuff of it. But eventually, I'm going to get everything transferred over to BayloughTechnologies.com. So that way, we'll have a form and we'll have a live chat and everything like that. But I still want to have that Discord presence too, just so we can all have, kind of like a place to chill out if we want to, play games or make fun.
Yeah.
Definitely seems more like a community-based kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
So this is what we call rapid fire. So we're just gonna give you some quick questions. All right.
All right.
These are meant to be just off the top of your head, like the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to ask you what your favorite video game is.
Favorite video game of all time, old school RuneScape, easy peasy.
I know it. I can't believe.
Can you give us the synopsis for those who don't know what that is? What the purpose of the game is?
So old school RuneScape is one of those games, there is no purpose. The purpose of the game is to be the baddest, the richest, the deadliest. Like, it's basically, RuneScape is just for people who don't know, it's a 20-year-old point-and-click Java developed game. It looks like Minecraft cheese graphics. It's horrible graphics. I really just only play it because, I don't know, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm a kid again inside, and I don't know. I've been working 20 years on one account, so trying to get this account finished off.
Damn.
So what do you mean finished off? Since there's no point to the game, what do you mean by that?
There isn't no point to the game, but you max out like different stats, and the range from these stats are 1 to 99. But every 7 levels, the total experience you need for the next level is doubled. And when they initially made this game, this game came out in 1999. And when Jagex initially released this game, they released the levels because they never thought somebody was actually going to get level 99. They didn't really think people was going to play the game. So now it's just more so of to show off that you've done it kind of thing. And there's not really a point to the game, but just kind of to show off, I guess.
Bragging rights. I get it.
So, Joe, what is your favorite food?
Pizza, hands down, pepperoni.
Oh, fun fact.
I agree.
Fun fact about this. I made a DiGiorno stuffed crust pizza here a couple months ago, and I told Joe, because Joe's my best friend. We talk almost every single day. And we got on some subject of pizza, and I feel like I have a better backing to this, where I love DiGiorno's stuffed crust pizza, and Joe here likes the boring, thin Red Baron pizza that costs $2 from Walmart.
Dude, Red Baron or die. I don't do stuffed crust.
I hate the Red Baron.
It's not even so much that you like Red Baron, it's that you hate DiGiorno stuffed crust.
I hate
they're expensive.
And it's expensive, exactly.
Dude, it's $7.
I can get 2
I
Red
have made a
Barons.
frozen pizza in my home twice, my whole life.
I literally had one.
What?
Do you love your?
I have one maybe twice a month.
Yes. I couldn't even tell you the last. I don't even think it was in this house that I own right now. That I don't think I've ever made a frozen pizza.
What do you?
I never think about it.
What do you eat, Kelly?
Just everything else. Everything except frozen pizza. If I'm gonna cook something, then I'm gonna cook something. I feel like, if that makes sense.
She ain't gonna eat no canned soup. She's gonna make soup and then freeze the rest for later.
Exactly.
Oh, and Joe's Joe's reason why he didn't like DiGiorno stuffed crust pizza was it's too much cheese.
It is.
That's not a thing.
I cannot believe you said that. As a man.
I don't like the cheese mixed in with my crust in the same bite.
You are probably the only person on the planet.
All right, next question. Let's
Tracy.
show our listeners what you're drinking, Joe. And then this is going to segue into this question.
So I'm drinking a coffee right now. It's a homemade mocha frap.
Okay.
Is
Are
there
you
liquor?
a morning person or night owl, and why?
100% a night owl. I don't know. My sleep pattern's really weird, and that's kind of my own fault for staying up late and waking up late. But I don't know. Nothing good. My mama always said nothing good happens past midnight, and that's very, very true. But I don't know. I'm, like I said, huge into technology, internet, and I think there's a lot of wild stuff that goes on out there after online.
Your who said that?
My grandmother.
No, but what'd you call her?
My grandma.
Oh, I thought you said like Mima or something like that.
Mm-mm.
It's a Kentucky
I think
thing.
he said his
That
Nana.
is
Nana?
Southern as all get out.
Oh, it's my turn, isn't it? Yeah, what's your favorite brand of car?
Chevrolet or die. If when you buy a new Ford truck, they actually give you a puppy, so when your truck breaks down, you don't have to sit there alone. Josh,
Fours are my favorite.
I could keep brewing, Josh.
What's your favorite season, bro?
I say I'm a winter person. I don't really like driving in the snow, but I think the snow is really pretty to look at.
Do you
Do you
think
get much snow in Kentucky?
It doesn't really snow that much. Yeah, it really doesn't snow at all, really. We get 2 or 3 good snowfalls a year. But I feel like I sleep a lot better when it's cold outside, too.
That's just science.
For sure.
Do you think that you like the snow in it because it's pretty because you're so ugly?
And potentially it could be that, but I see my snow. So
What's up?
I see my reflection more in the snow, so I don't know.
Well, if you ever need a big snow, if you want to see snow, come to South Dakota because it's currently, we're supposed to get about 3 inches in the next 2 days. On top of, we've had over like multiple feet of snow.
So you guys probably got a couple of feet outside on the ground right now, don't you?
We do. There's actually, I live across the street from a school. Hopefully you guys haven't been hearing it, but they're plowing the playground right now. So I can hear their blades scraping and the beeping of them backing up and all of that. But
Well,
yeah,
good for Deuce for having good mics. Can't hear any of that.
Yeah, noise canceling. What is your most embarrassing moment?
I don't know if I have a most embarrassing moment. I don't know. I don't get embarrassed easily. If I could, I don't know. Okay. So I will pick my most embarrassing moment, and it's really because this was just when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was a straight hellion. And when I mean a bad kid, I mean I was a bad kid, bro. Like, so in 5th grade, I I moved schools. I moved from Corbin, Kentucky to London, Kentucky, and I started going to a school called Sublimity. And I started going there like halfway through school, so it was like January, February when I started going there. And like I said, it's 5th grade year. So here's, little Joe Darrell just going to school and stuff. And, well, I started selling porn in 5th grade. So my buddy had a printer. He would print out all this like anime XXX stuff, and I would take it home and I would trace it. And I would basically sell it for like $1 or $2 a page, and buy a pack of 10, and I give you a discount kind of stuff. And,
wow!
I got caught. Well, here's how I got caught, and I'll never forget this. Her name was Miss Hinkle. She was like 20, 21 years old. When I was in 5th grade, she was like, this was like her first or second year teaching. I had like a little gang of kids that I sold all this stuff with. Well, we'd kind of made our names for ourselves, and like all the kids were like telling on us. Well, so the teachers kind of knew what was going on with us. Well, in 5th grade, this is when they was getting you ready for middle school. So like all your teachers, instead of having one teacher, you had multiple teachers, and they would come around to your classroom. So in between changing teachers one day, when Miss Hinkle was coming in, I walked back to my buddy's Chad desk, fresh product, and went to put it in my backpack. Well, Miss Hinkle seen the transaction, and I don't know, for whatever reason, me just being young, silly Daryl, I went back up to my desk, but I kept the folder with all the stuff in it. And she was like, okay, kids, open up your science book to page blah, 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 and we're going to go over, this chemistry stuff. And I opened my book, and I'm just sitting there, and we're reading over stuff out loud, and she goes, I'm like right in the front of the class, right? Like I'm right in front of Miss Hinkle because I'm in the front of the class. I'm a bad kid. And I'll never forget, this woman looks me straight in the eyes, and she said, what is that, Joseph? And she lifts open, because my science book was kind of laying on top of the folder. And she lifts the book up and she opens it. And that woman turned so red. I've never seen a shade that red in all my life. And she just looks me dead in the eye and says, get in the hallway right now. And it was just, I was so embarrassed, man, just because I knew it was game over.
I love how you approach that situation like you were selling cocaine.
Like you use the word transaction as a business transaction. Our inventory.
He made money from this transaction.
What was really funny is we would go to the flea market down here in Corbin in London. We'd go there every Sunday. And this is back when PlayStation 2 was the console, you know what I mean? And the flea market would have brand new games for $15-$20, dude. And every Sunday, it would never fail. I would have $20 to buy a brand new game. And my mom was like, where are you getting all this money from? Man, Mama loves me. No, I was selling porn.
Selling porn to all the kids at school.
Well, Trace's sketches of porn.
Kim Possible was my best seller.
Oh my God. I don't even want to know that, bro. Tracy, do you have any questions, man?
Huh?
When do you plan on shaving your beard?
I don't know. Haley, my better half over here, she's been aggravating me a lot to shave it lately, so I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than I want it to. But I don't know, I've just kind of been growing it out. I never had long hair or had a long beard, so after my little accident last year, I've just kind of grew it out and not thought about shaving it up until recently. But I don't know. The next time you guys see me, I might be clean cut.
Are you gonna shave it, or just trim it?
No, if I do shave it, I'll just trim it. It'd be take it back to a 2 or something.
Word. Cool.
If I shave it completely bald, I'm bad baby face.
Yeah, me too. That's why I shave though, so I don't look like I'm 35.
I got a really bad scar under my chin right here too, so it just looks really weird when I.
Is that from all the porn you sold?
Yeah.
Well,
on that note.
Yeah, on that note, appreciate you spending time with us, Joe. I do want to say I appreciate, you and I have been through a lot together, mentally, physically, and not only just in Afghanistan, but, when we got out, I know I had been through some really bad stuff, and you are one of the few people that, when I was going through some bad stuff, you were just there. So shout out to you for being a real homie. A lot of people left and weren't there for me like you were, like you and Noah. Real friends, real diehards, and I just want to say I appreciate you for accepting me at my worst and my lowest, because not everybody does. So.
I appreciate you a whole bunch, man. And you already know what's up. And you helped me.
Oh, I know what's up.
So much love. I got love for you too, Josh. I haven't talked to you. I didn't know what the heck happened to the civilian.
It's all good. I guess Kelly and me are just chopped liver to Tracy.
Literally.
Joe has been there for me when nobody else
Quite the
was.
romance.
So.
Do you know what it's been dealing with you on this podcast, Tracy? It's just as bad. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Joe, for people who want to hit up your YouTube, where can they find you?
So if you guys want to hit me up on YouTube, I'm sure Josh, Tracy, and Kelly's going to leave some cool links down here somewhere. But it's going to be youtube.com/@Baylough.Technologies. Or if you want to hit me up on Instagram, same thing, Instagram.com/Baylough.Technologies. Or for any business inquiries, hit me up at BayloughTechnologies@gmail.com.
Oh, and by the way, Joe also helps people remove viruses from their computer.
Yeah, and in all honesty, like if anybody out there listening, if you guys need any kind of computer or technology help, anything like that, just check out my YouTube somewhere, and there will be a link to the Discord. I mean, we got a bunch of nerds in there that knows everything about everything, and if it's something that we don't know, then it's something that we'll figure out. We take a lot of passion in this stuff, so we enjoy the process and enjoy learning. So we'll try to get it figured out for you.
I forgot to ask you what it was like building this monster right here. But
Your computer was actually a blast to put together. It was kind of overwhelming, I guess, just because I hadn't really I had built PCs before that computer, but the last computer I built was like 2010. You know, closed loop water cooling in 2010 wasn't really a thing. Like it was, but nothing to a scale of what it is now. You know, there wasn't RGB lights and all that crazy stuff coming off of it. So when I initially got that, you know, there's just so many wires and so many hoses coming off of everything. It was a lot of stuff to hook up. But I don't know. I took my time. I stayed confident, and it turned out sweet. And you know, knock on wood, we haven't had any issues out of that thing. It's ran great. So I'm glad we got it set. It went as smooth as it did.
I don't think people understand how big, because people understand like a desktop PC, like they know how big a tower is, but like I don't think people understand how big this thing, like this, like to put it in comparison, like that TV is like a 55-inch TV. Like this tower by itself is like 20 pounds.
What's
Like it is.
It's like 24 inches long.
Yeah, this is like 2 foot long. Like it's
Your
freaking huge.
your power supply weighs more than most people's computers.
Yeah, it is freaking. I don't know how much this whole thing weighs, but I'd say probably around 35 pounds.
Easily 30 to 40 pounds.
Yeah, and that's just to put that into perspective. I know some people's like desktop towers weigh like, what would you say, Joe? 10 pounds?
Yeah, average, I'd say between 8 12 pounds.
Yeah, like I have a big hand. Like this thing is it's big. It is massive. And yes, that's an MRE. Don't judge me.
So if you guys want to help Tracy out, we'll start fund me for him. Feed Tracy.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, brother.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you having me, and I'll see you guys here soon, I'm hoping.
It was nice to meet you, Joe.
It was nice meeting you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.